guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. I am your host, Heather, and I have been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009. What I just realized, you guys, is I had my hair up in a bun until 3 minutes ago, and it's got this whole 80s huge hair vibe going on right now. But we're just gonna go with it. So I'm in my 80s party big hair mood right now. Also, I'm in my autumn mood because look at my earrings. They're like pumpkin spices. See? I wait all year to pull these things out and I'm pulling them out. I've got the candle. I've got the pumpkin sign in the back. I've still got some like um St. Patrick's and Easter stuff there, but that is what that is. I've got Christmas music on. I've also got the pumpkin lotion. And you know what? I promise you, somebody's going to watch this and they're going to say, this woman goes on way too much in the beginning. And they might leave me a comment. The two most common comments I get on these videos are, it's not pronounced Renaissance, from people who think they're clever at, pointing out that I talk differently than Renaissance. Anyway, so that's the big one. And then the other big one I get is people saying that the introductions are too long in my videos. So again, I say this sometimes, I will say it again. There's this lovely thing called fast forward button, and you can fast forward. So that is what that is. Somebody's going to think I talk too much, and they're going to say the introduction took too long. And there you go. But I just want to share my joy at all things pumpkin with you right now because it is the joy of the pumpkin. Also, I know my plants look super dead. I'm not the one who's in charge of the plant viability in our home. My husband is, and he's been shirking and neglecting his duty. The other day, my stepmom came in and she said, Heather, your plants are looking really bad. They need some food or something. So here's a fun story. I'm also going to have a tangent. When I lived in Los Angeles the first time, when I was 23, I lived in an apartment that had really thick windowsills and then bars and and then a courtyard in the middle. And I really quite liked it because I would sit in that thick windowsill with the bars up against and read and look out at the courtyard with birds chirping. And I really enjoyed it. But the thing about those bars is I would hang plants. They had wrought iron, they were actually quite fancy. And I would hang plants on them just to have it look nice. I stink at taking care of plants. I am terrible. I am not the person you want to have taking care of your plants, as evidenced by what's going on behind me. I forget to water them. I don't know anything about plants. I'm horrible at it. So I used to kill them all the time, but I liked having them. But what I used to do is I actually put it in my budget that every month I would go to Kmart and I would buy some new plants to hang up there because I really enjoyed it. So with all of that aside, I'm not the person you want to be taking care of your plants. And I know my plants need something. So I don't know, food, who knows? If you know how to take care of plants, tell me what they need because clearly my husband's not doing it. Gotta figure it out. Man, this air is driving me nuts. It's a day, you guys. It's a day. It's a day. It's a day in which we are going to talk about Jane Dormer. Who was Jane Dormer? Jane Dormer was a lady in waiting to Mary the First. She also then married a Spaniard. Of course, the Spaniards were all in England hanging out because Mary married Philip. And Jane fell in love with one of the Spanish people in Philip's retinue, Don Gómez Suárez de Figueroa, the Duke of Feria. And she became the Duchess of Feria. And we're going to talk about that. So let's get right into it after that super long introduction. I'm bustling with October energy, full of the October energy. All right. Namaste. Today we are going to talk about the extraordinary life of Jane Dormer, Duchess of Feria. She was an English noblewoman who navigated the political and religious tides of the mid-16th century. She was a lady in waiting to Mary I, and she became the wife of a Spanish duke. Her life bridged count them two, powerful courts, and then made her a beacon for exiled English Catholics under Elizabeth. After Queen Mary's death, Jane left England for Spain, where she continued her fight for the Catholic cause. And today we are going to talk about her early years her time with Queen Mary, and her marriage to Don Gómez Suárez de Figueroa, Duke of Feria. So much fun to say. So, Jane Dormer was born January 6th, King's Day, the Epiphany, 1538, at Eythorpe, Buckinghamshire. Her family was very much like many families divided by the religious upheavals of the Reformation. On one side, the Dormers were staunch Catholics, while her mother's family, the Sidneys, embraced Protestantism. Jane's mother, Mary Sidney, died in 1542, not Mary Sidney Herbert, another Mary Sidney. And Jane was raised by her paternal grandmother, Lady Dormer, a devout Catholic. This upbringing shielded her from Protestant influences and solidified her Catholic faith. Jane's connection to the English court began in her youth when she became a playmate of the future Edward VI. Despite their religious differences, Edward was very fond of her, showing how Jane was able to kind of bridge these different conflicting allegiances, make friends with both sides. Which I gotta say right now, especially if you live in a swing state like I do, it's a really good time to just think about, Jane Dormer and making friends on both sides and how that's possible. It's possible. Anyway, guys, I'm getting off on so many, it's like tangents. It's like I get hooked. Anyway, I might edit that out. Her early exposure to both sides of England's religious divide would shape her future loyalties and influence. In 1553, she joined the court of Mary I as one of her closest ladies in waiting. She was only 16 years old at the time, but she quickly became a confidant and personal favorite of the queen's. Her beauty and her charm were widely noted at court. The poet Richard Edwards famously described her as a darling and of such lively hue. Mary cherished Jane's company so much so that she was actually reluctant to see her marry, preferring to keep Jane by her side at court. Jane's loyalty to Mary was unwavering. She embraced the Catholic faith even more deeply under the Queen's influence. Jane's time with Mary not only solidified her religious convictions, but also established her as a trusted figure in royal circles, setting the stage for her future political influence. Her life took a significant turn when she married Don Gómez Suárez de Figueroa, Duke of Feria, a trusted advisor to Philip II of Spain. Mary I had originally supported the match, but political circumstances delayed their wedding. This was when Mary was in the process of going to war against France with Spain. People were really upset about it. Then she lost Calais, and people blamed the Spanish for getting England involved in that. It was just kind of a mess. And then Mary got really sick, and they didn't want to get married then. Then Mary died in November 1558, and Jane's position at the English court came to an end. Just weeks later, in December 1558, she and Gómez married in secret. This marked Jane's transition from the English court to the Spanish nobility. Her marriage connected her to the most powerful people in Spain and brought her closer to Philip II's inner circle. The Duke's influence at court meant that Jane, too, became a figure of political importance, especially for Catholic causes. In her new role, she would become a leading advocate for English Catholics in exile under Elizabeth. Of course, people talk about the Marian exiles, people like Catherine Willoughby, who fled to Switzerland and places under Mary. There were also then English Catholics under Elizabeth who left England and went to places like Spain and Italy. And so she became a place for them, a place of safety for them to be able to go to. After she moved to Spain, she quickly became this central figure for the Catholics who were fleeing persecution under Elizabeth I. And even though it might not have been overt persecution, it was clear that which way the winds were blowing. And Catholics who were worried about their position wanted to get out while they could. She and her husband, Jane and her husband, settled in Spain, and she remained deeply connected to both the Spanish politics and what all was going on in England. She housed monks and nuns and other refugees who sought to maintain their faith abroad. She also corresponded with key figures in the Catholic Church, including four popes, and even maintained a cautious correspondence with Elizabeth herself. When the Duke of Feria died in 1571, Jane took over the management of his estates, further solidifying her position as a leader. Respected for her political understanding, Jane was seen as a champion of the exiled and the downtrodden. She actually then worked, this was still when Spain was in war in the Netherlands, in the Low Countries. So she was working to secure the release of prisoners of war, Spanish prisoners of war, and also hostages that were taken in that war, and often delicately influenced political decisions in favor of the Catholic cause. Jane's involvement in political intrigue continued, particularly in support of Mary, Queen of Scots, and her participation in plans to restore Catholics in England. She was also connected to attempts to invade Ireland. She was just very committed to Catholics in England and anything that they could do in England to further the cause. So she had her hands in all kinds of pots there. Despite her physical distance from England, Jane remained a very influential figure in the ongoing struggle between the Catholics and the Protestants. Despite all of this, she was able to maintain a tenuous relationship with Elizabeth. After Queen Mary's death, one of Jane's first tasks was to return the late Queen's jewels to Elizabeth. This was an interaction that would set the tone for their relationship, which was incredibly complex. Elizabeth viewed Jane with a mixture of respect and suspicion. On one hand, Jane was a noblewoman who had proven her loyalty to the crown. On the other, her strong Catholic ties and her marriage to a Spanish nobleman made her a potential threat to Elizabeth's Protestant regime. The two women corresponded sporadically over the years. Jane sent letters of goodwill and even tokens like jewelry to Elizabeth. While Elizabeth tolerated Jane's Catholic sympathies to some degree, she also might have seen her as a useful English ally who could help maintain the diplomatic channels back and forth, kind of like back channels between her and Spain. Jane balanced her loyalties carefully, using her unique position to help English Catholics while maintaining enough favor with Elizabeth to avoid any outright hostility. As Jane aged, her health began to decline, but this did not stop her from remaining involved in both Spanish and English intrigues and politics. When Elizabeth died in 1603, Jane attempted to influence her successor, James I, encouraging him to convert to Catholicism in the hopes of easing tensions for the English Catholics. Her efforts, of course, were unsuccessful, but they do show how committed she was to her faith throughout her life. Jane passed away on January 13th, 1612, after years of illness. In her final days, she made a poignant request for her heart to be buried back in England. It's very unlikely, though, that that wish was ever fulfilled, but it does speak to the deep loyalty that she maintained both to her English convictions and her Catholic convictions. Her legacy is significant. She was one of the only English noblewomen of the Tudor period to marry into the Spanish aristocracy, and she played a pivotal role supporting the English Catholics in exile. Her influence extended across the two very powerful courts, making her a rare woman of both political and religious importance in a male-dominated world. So there you go, a little bit about Jane Dormer, who was beloved by Mary I and managed to live a really long time and support the faith and the causes that she believed in. Which, sounds like a pretty good life to me. Sounds like a pretty good life to me. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. If you made it to the end of this video and you're still here and you liked it, I sure would appreciate a press of that like button. It helps feed the algorithm so YouTube will show this to even more people. And it really helps to grow the channel. Don't forget that you are deeply loved. I am so glad I share this planet with you. And also, don't forget to stay hydrated and drink your water. Very important. All right, my friends, I will talk with you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.